Welcome to another edition of Trunk and Tales as we navigate what is happening in the world of politics. I'm Stacy Smith, and if you are watching or listening to this podcast, I ask that you hit the like or the subscribe button. Political violence, that's today's topic in this edition of Trunk and Tales. And with me is the former governor of Pennsylvania, a Republican, Tom Corbett. Mr. Corbett also served as the state attorney general for the state of Pennsylvania and also as the U.S. attorney for the Western District of Pennsylvania. Tom, thanks again for joining us on Trunk and Tales. Glad you could be here. It seems as if the killing of Charlie Kirk has brought things to a boil to a degree. Hopefully it doesn't get much more heated than this. But it wasn't just Charlie Kirk. Just in the last year or so, we've had a CEO gunned down on the streets of New York. We've had two state legislators in the state of Minnesota, Democrats, who were shot and killed. And also, as you well know, the house you used to live in, the governor's mansion in Harrisburg, was set on fire. Were you ever faced with any of these kind of threats when you were governor?
Not that I know of, but they wouldn't have told me.
Is that right?
Oh, no, they tell you, but there's always all kind of threats coming in. But they can filter it out pretty well. The state police does a wonderful job. There was one incident one time where there was a crowd. This was soon after I did my first budget that people really didn't like because we had to reduce our spending beyond what many people wanted us to do. And there were people that were angry, and they kind of surrounded after we left the meeting, got in the car. My wife and I were together. We got in the car, and they kind of surrounded the vehicle. And my troopers just moved them out. There was one trooper walking right in front of the vehicle. He had his arms extended. He's just pushing people out. They didn't do anything other than that. They didn't throw anything. But they were angry, and political decisions bring out strong emotions on either side of the spectrum. I won't say out, spectrum, for individuals as the political decision impacts them.
All right, but why do you think, though, it's ratcheted up to the point of people causing harm to other people or even killing them?
Well, I think it's ratcheted up, and I'm going to pull this out, the cell phone, internet. Everybody sees things today that they didn't see even 5-10 years ago. There's many aspects of this, I think. One is mental health. We have a mental health crisis in this country, in this state. We need to be investing more in mental health at this point in time. Secondly is, people haven't learned to control their emotions. I'm not sure that as people are growing up, they have the instruction, the direction that I received and many people my age received as we were growing up. And everybody thinks they should get what exactly they want, and some of them turn it to anger. And they have the ability to express it, unfortunately. Excuse me.
Well, on Face the Nation on Sunday on CBS, a friend of yours, Major Garrett, interviewed somebody from the University of Chicago. His name is Robert Pape, and he has been, for the last 5 years or so, conducting research into the how people feel about politicians or politics compared to, where they think things should be. And according to him, there's been a groundswell of support for violence on both sides. He believes that the U.S. is in an era of violent populism, which he says can be defined by the rise in political violence from both the right and the left and increased support for political violence. He says right now, his latest survey indicates it's the highest levels for political violence that he's ever been able to record. And this is, to me, the disturbing part. 39% of those surveyed by him who are Democrats, the Democrats, 39% of the Democrats surveyed by Mr. Pape agree that the use of force is justified to remove Donald Trump from office. Of that, also 16% are independents and 4% of Republicans. So if you take that 59% of those who feel that there is reason to use force to remove Donald Trump from office. This is shocking to me. 55% of those people say that assassination is all right.
Okay, Stacy, you know I don't like polls like this.
Right.
And the reason I don't like polls like this, you don't know truly what it reflects. Was it 100 people? Was it 200 people? Where was it taken? Was it taken in the heartland of the United States? Was it taken in the inner city? Was it taken on the coasts? And so I won't get into generalizing what people are thinking. Is violence up? We are aware that violence appears to be up because of the media. Violence, this country is a violent country. The concept of using violence to overthrow the government, to remove the president, I'm sure people have felt that way for a long period of time.
Well, we've had presidents killed, so.
That's exactly right, and depending on who the president is. Some presidents are more of a lightning rod than other presidents. Obviously, President Trump is a lightning rod, and his speech and responses don't calm the matter. I can't imagine with either one of the Bushes or with Obama or even Clinton, there were some people that probably said, well, yes, we should overthrow them, but they were not vocal. But I don't know whether they were even being polled in those days. Mm-hmm. The fact that they're polling now reflects that there's a concern, and it's a legitimate concern. I don't, are there people out there on both sides that are willing to do that? Yes. And I think that's exactly what our foreign enemies are hoping for, are rejoicing over our own division. Keep in mind, though, over 100 years ago, we had the same thing. It was called the Civil War. And a president was killed to prevent Reconstruction, or affected Reconstruction. The aspect of relying on a poll is not acceptable to me. Is it an indication that something's out there? Yes. But we know that. You and I know that just from watching what's going on. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't even do a poll as to how many people think we ought to overthrow or assassinate the president or other political figures.
All right, let me go on with a little bit more of what he had to say. And you held up your phone a moment ago, and you said, this is part of the problem here. His analysis, Mr. Pape, is that the internet is an accelerant, but not the root cause. He says that big social change will drive political violence. His contention is that we are in the midst of a major social change in this country, where we had in the 1990s or maybe 70s, I can't remember which one he said, it was like 70% white majority, and we're moving toward a white minority government in this country, and that Donald Trump's use of immigration policy has emboldened those who want. Pardon me?
Exacerbated it?
Well, to a degree, for those who want to continue to see this change, but also has emboldened those who don't want to see it become a white minority sort of thing. And so what he says is that the internet has just become a reinforcing factor in all of this, that people go to that. You know as well as me that you can pick up your telephone and all of a sudden, or go online. If you search certain things, the next thing you know, you find more and more of what you searched the first time around coming up. Your thoughts?
That's part of the problem I have with the internet as it is today, and I'm not sure how you fix that. I think there has to be greater education in the schools with our children, but also with the adults. They pick this up and they say, "Oh, the Steelers just traded Aaron Rodgers." Well, no, they didn't. But they saw it on there and they said, yes, they did. It's that mentality that we need to, as a country, step back a little bit and take a look at what information we're being fed. The newspapers, they used to be able to say pretty much what they wanted to say, but they had constraints. They had lawyers in the background making sure that they weren't, violating,
Well,
creating slander or something, right? You had to deal with it at the
well,
studio.
but it has changed,
Oh, it
which
has.
I don't care for at all. I mean, you know as well as me that in newspapers it used to be you'd have an article about what happened, who, what, why, where, when, and how, and then maybe under the fold of the front page, if it was even there, you'd have a thing that was called labeled analysis. And so that gave the reporter or reporters the chance to put their viewpoint in there, but you knew it was labeled that way. I like to say right now that we've moved sort of from a journalism in a lot of cases to opinionism by a lot of reporters, and it's
Well,
picked
I
up.
I agree with you because I think that internet has allowed everybody to be an opinion maker, and anybody can have an opinion about anything. They're not a journalist. They're not the editorial board at the Triv or the Post Gazette or the New York Times. That they're going to come about it in a responsible way. The thing is, and I see this sometimes with some of the students that I talk to, they're not following mainstream media.
Right.
They're not looking at the news. They're not reading a newspaper. What are they looking at? They're looking at online. And I talk to them. I say, you have to discern what is accurate and what is inaccurate or misleading. And I think that's a problem for our country. Going back to the issue of becoming a minority white country, well, we've been going in that direction for quite a while. And I think there are individuals in our country that are fearful of immigration. But before, when immigration was white, they weren't quite so fearful, except for, oh, no Irish need apply,
Right.
no Italians need apply. The discrimination from a religious standpoint against Jewish people and Catholic people, that's always been there.
Yep.
The reason we see it more in our face is because it is in our face on the TV, on the internet, on the cell phone. And people.
And if we enter in a period of war, I mean, we incarcerated Japanese Americans in California. Germans during the First World War were. Well, there was a lot of violence against people of German heritage. So it has happened in this country before, but I think maybe it's just that because of the internet and television that some of these killings and stuff are necessarily bigger than they bigger than they necessarily were before. I don't know. Maybe these things happened before.
Well, I think there's a drive. Before everybody was trying to sell newspapers and advertising time, right?
Right.
Now it's all about a click.
Yep.
And I don't know what the
And it goes back to advertising, by the way.
But, which is exactly right. But it's a click. It's a click. It's a click. And they're looking at it that way. They're not looking for responsible. They aren't making sure that what they have is accurate. But it does increase the interest, maybe I'll call it a prurient interest, of people into violence, particularly those, and I go back to my mental health, that may need help and they're not getting it. The young man that assassinated Charlie Kirk, obviously somewhere along the line he needed help. But how do you discern that? How do you find that out? His parents did a wonderful job after the fact and probably did a better job before the fact, and he just went and did something wrong.
So I have.
Where did that emotion come from that he had to kill?
It's again, it goes back to what Mr. Pape said, that the internet is reinforcing things that
Or instigating.
he disagrees with that. I mean, he doesn't think it's the cause of things, but I'm just telling you what he said. I think you might be right.
That in this respect, it may not be the initial cause, but it's because people see it. They see the attempted assassination. Did that plant a seed in somebody's brain? This is what we need to do.
Yeah. Well, all right. I have a follow-up question on that. If you make the statement that you believe that there obviously something went wrong with this person who killed Charlie Kirk somewhere along the line, As a prosecutor, do you prosecute him, seek the death penalty?
Yes.
Even
Yes.
though you think there might be an issue.
Well, you get into the whole mental health defense, and the initial charge, you have to make the decision right there. Anybody that kills anybody, there's something wrong, right? I mean, just it goes against our human nature to do that. Go back to Cain and Abel. It goes against human nature. However, as a prosecutor, you were given facts. Clearly, an assassination is premeditated murder. And if you have a state, and I'm pretty sure Utah does, and we have one, premeditated murder is eligible for the death penalty. And you always charge the highest. I always charge the highest charge we could get, that we believed we could get a conviction. That's going to be the case in this, in the Utah matter.
Yeah, they have announced they will seek the death penalty. So
The irony, and I'm not positive about this, maybe your readers should check up. I think in Utah is one state that still uses the firing squad.
you have your choice, I believe. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the guy's name was Gary Gilmore, which we go back into the.
Oh, there's been one more recently than Gary
Oh,
Gilmore.
really? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I
But
mean,
think-
like within the last 2 years.
Oh, I missed that one somewhere along the line. So I'm going to give you a quote here and then get your reaction to it. Quote, "There's free speech and then there's hate speech, and there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society. We will absolutely target you, go after you, if you are targeting anyone with hate speech." Your reaction to that quote, and you know who it came from. It's from the United States Attorney General, Pam Bondi.
I would say that, I could say it this way, I would not have said it that way.
She did clarify it, but that was her initial comment.
Well, this is my observation. When you're in law enforcement, you do have to step back somewhat from your political leanings. You're supposed to be more neutral. A lot of people aren't. I think my record was I was. And I think she had the campaign hat on rather than the AG hat on when she made that statement.
Yeah, well, and I should offer her clarification, and that hate speech that crosses the line into threats of violence is not protected by the First Amendment. It's a crime. For far too long, we've watched the radical left normalize threats, call for assassinations, and cheer on political violence. That era is over. It's
If
a
I
clarification.
could edit that.
Yep,
If she took the words radical left out of there,
yep.
it's much better.
Because her
Because
clarification
she's doing
was
the exact same thing.
exactly. I just want to say her clarification is exactly what you said. She's
Yeah.
wearing the political hat on this.
Yeah.
Now,
Let me. Can you imagine Dick Thornburg ever making a statement like that?
no, I cannot. No.
You know, and I have his picture right up here on my wall. Yeah, it can't be.
No, I can't picture anybody. I don't remember any recent U.S. attorneys, United Attorney Generals, I should say, making a statement like that for either party.
No.
I really, and there were times I think if someone made that kind of a statement, who was the U.S. Attorney General, probably within a month they'd be out of a job because it would be so much heat on the administration from their own party.
It's a different administration.
Yep,
Very
that is.
different than any that we've been. Even different than the first term.
All right, so we've talked about all these problems. We've talked about Pam Bondi's comments, which I think are dead wrong. It really borders on. I guess it really borders on this. Who decides what is hate? I mean,
That's exactly right.
yeah, and so
So go back to being a prosecutor. You have your investigators, you have the police. Everybody comes in. What are the facts? You have to determine and look at it. Does this meet the elements of the hate crimes? I think in Tree of Life, they proved hate crimes. And, back when I was an assistant DA, we didn't have any such charge.
Interesting.
Okay? Now we do. And it's because of a lot of these crimes are motivated by hate. But I'm gonna, I think, ruffle feathers here. Did we even need that statute? Murder is murder is murder, in my mind. And if it was when I'm talking about hate crime, about murder, hate crime, defacing Tree of Life, is that a hate crime? We've defined it as it is. Okay, I can understand that. Is it a hate crime to put graffiti on the beams of all the buildings or highways that we have? Well, depends on what you put up there, right? Is it, if they painted a Nazi swastika, is that a hate crime? I'd have to go back and look at the statute. Probably isn't. But we use shorthand to describe things, unfortunately, because sometimes it takes too long for the soundbite or the clip to be able to explain it. So, it's a hate crime.
I don't want to get into, you're a professor of law as well, and you know criminal law backwards and forwards, but with the addition of, as you said, when you were the state attorney general or the U.S. attorney for the Western District of Pennsylvania, you didn't have hate crimes. Did the government perhaps put hate crimes in as an aggravating circumstance so that they get a better conviction from the jury?
Well, when you say the government would be, because to define a hate crime, it would have to be, I'm pretty sure, a statute that the Congress passed.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I meant by the government. Yeah.
But I understand you. Did they do it? What you're saying is, did they do it for leverage?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
You don't.
It is leverage, but it's also accurate if it was a hate crime, if they did it out of hate. But what if the shooter at Tree of Life was actually Jewish? Would it have been a hate crime then? Everything depends upon the facts.
Yep.
I lost your voice there for a second. Okay.
Yeah. No. Absolutely. It's you raise a very good point. So that brings us to this. To turn down the heat on that pot of boiling water that can boil over into political violence. What needs to be done?
Well, I think it's rational discussion of what's going on, but I think that's hard to get out there. We're doing a rational discussion right now. And I'm sure when you show this on air, people look at it, some people are going to be really upset with me. We'll talk. The one thing I've learned is in politics, you better have a very thick hide, because everybody's going to criticize you from all sides for something that you did that they don't agree with. But that's been politics since we've had politics. Fortunately, there's been violence since we've had politics. There was violence in the Roman Senate.
I was going to say, Caesar went down with violence.
Yeah. We can't stop it completely.
There's a lot of talk that if leaders of the parties were to get together, and as an example, they're not necessarily considered leaders of their parties, but they're prominent positions within their parties. The two Pennsylvania senators, one's a Republican, one's a Democrat. McCormick, the Republican, Fetterman, the Democrat, went on Fox News the other night to talk about the same thing that we're talking about, and how you got to bring it down. You can't use political violence. There's talk that if the president would get together with on a joint appearance with, say, Governor Newsom or Pritzker of Illinois, and try to bring down the temperature, would that sort of thing work in your opinion?
Well, personalities will prevent that.
Oh, that's true.
Okay.
You're not going to get McCormick and Fetterman on that level, no.
Oh, I think.
Well, no. What I meant was the president and somebody else. Yeah.
Well, Josh Shapiro and I appeared jointly a couple days ago. I'm a Republican. He's a Democrat. I'm Roman Catholic. He's Jewish. Differences. There's a lot of things we can agree on. There are a lot of things we can disagree on. You know, the fact that this budget hasn't been done, I can disagree on that. But is it going to cause me to be hateful? No. But I'm a rational person, and there's a lot of people out there that are rational people. But I think there needs to be more demonstrations, examples from the leadership in both houses, from both parties. And right now, it's not there because, I watched some of the stuff the other day, appearances before the Senate, and everybody's yelling at each other.
Yeah.
That's a disgrace. Anybody that was yelling, that's a disgrace. You get heard better if you keep a calm voice.
Very true. Very true. Well, let's wrap that up with that comment. I think that's good.
Okay?
All right, Governor, thanks so much for joining us once again on Trunk and Tales, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks or so. Thanks.
Okay. Thanks, Stacy.